Hello there, and welcome to Infinite Earth Stories, a quiet corner where curiosity finds a place to rest and where the wild, ancient planet beneath our feet becomes a gentle story to guide you towards sleep. Tonight, we are setting out on a journey so far back in time that even the oldest rocks struggle to remember it. A time when the face of Earth looked utterly different, not because of the creatures upon it, but because of the land itself. A time before mountains, before peaks and valleys, before the high places of the world existed at all. Take a moment now. Feel the rhythm of your breath, slow and steady. The world outside can wait. For these next hours there is nothing to chase, nothing to hold on to, nothing to do but listen and drift. Allow yourself to be carried backward into the quiet imagination of Earth's earliest landscapes. Imagine with me a world without mountains. It feels almost impossible, doesn't it? For so much of human history, mountains have defined our sense of place and wonder. They are the spines of continents, the guardians of valleys, the keepers of snow and rivers. They stand in myth and memory as symbols of endurance, mystery, and height. But in the earliest chapters of our planet, those towering ridges did not yet exist. Earth was still shaping itself, still cooling, still learning its forms. Its crust lay flatter, gentler, more subdued. The first landscapes stretched in long horizons, broken only by low swells of rock and shallow seas. The world was wide and open, yet strangely close. There were no towering summits to interrupt the sky, no deep-cut canyons to guide rivers, no snowcaps to shine in the sun, only plains, rolling softly into the distance, like a great calm ocean frozen in stone. Breathe that in. The quietness of a world without peaks. As you imagine this world, let your body soften. Unclench your jaw, rest your shoulders. Feel the support beneath you, holding you the way ancient bedrock holds the weight of oceans and sky. The Earth has always been steady, even in its earliest youth. Tonight, it can hold you too. Close your eyes if they're not closed already. Notice the rhythm of your breathing, in and out. Slow and gentle, like waves brushing the shore of an ancient, mountainless sea. This is your place of rest. A soft place to drift while Earth's oldest stories rise around you. Now, let us step back, further and further still, past your memories, past your ancestors, past even the first animals, plants, or forests, past continents as you know them, past oceans full of trilobites, past skies filled with strange flying reptiles, past the very idea of mountains towering into the clouds. We are traveling back billions of years to an Earth still young, still raw, still waiting for its skin of stone to wrinkle and rise. The constellations above look different now, unfamiliar, scattered. The moon appears larger, brighter, closer, a companion still finding its orbit. And beneath your feet, the Earth is both familiar and foreign. Rock, water, air, and yet not quite like today. The air is heavy, the seas spread wide, the ground warm with the memory of magma not far below. The land stretches low and flat. This is Earth before mountains. Pause for a moment and picture the horizon. On today's Earth, when you think of a horizon, you might picture it broken by ridges, lifted by distant mountains, lined with the silhouettes of high places. But in this ancient time, the horizon is smooth, continuous, endless in its quiet reach. The eye sees further, unobstructed by walls of stone. The sky seems larger, its dome stretching unbroken from one edge of the plain to the other. When the sun sets, It does not dip behind mountains, but glows openly across the whole world, spreading slowly, evenly, until the night settles in. It is a different kind of beauty, not dramatic, not jagged, but soft. A beauty of simplicity. Without mountains, the air moves differently too. There are no high ridges to catch clouds, no steep slopes to guide winds. Rain falls more evenly, spreading across the plains. Rivers wander, meandering slowly, never forced into deep-cut valleys. Lakes pool in broad, shallow basins. The atmosphere itself is thicker, heavier, still learning its balance of gases. Sunlight filters through in muted colors, sometimes soft gold, sometimes strange tints we might never fully imagine. The sky might have glowed faintly, in hues of red or amber, shifting slowly with the seasons of a young planet. It is a sky without the drama of storm-beaten peaks, but still full of quiet motion. As you rest here, listening, drifting, remember, you are part of this story. The iron in your blood, the salt in your tears, the calcium in your bones, all were forged in the same deep time we are visiting now. The memory of this mountainless earth is not only in the rocks, but in you. So when you breathe slowly with the rhythm of this ancient world, you are not just imagining it. In some way, you are remembering. Breathe in and feel the weight of an endless sky. Breathe out and let the calm of flat horizons soften you. This is only the beginning of our story. Over the hours to come, we will wander further into the details of this strange, flat earth. We will see how water carved its way across low ground, how continents began to stir, how the slow dance of tectonic plates first hinted at the rise of mountains to come. But not yet. For now, we are only settling in. We are only learning to imagine the stillness of a planet without peaks. Rest here with me in this moment. The world is flat, endless, gentle, and you are safe within it. Settle again into your breath, slow, gentle, even. The earth beneath us stretches far, calm and unbroken. Tonight, we are not rushing. We are wandering slowly, like rivers across the lowlands of a young world. Picture the rain falling, not the sharp, sudden mountain rainstorms of today, rushing down steep gullies and filling streams with force. No, here the rain falls softly, and when it reaches the ground, it spreads. Rivers wander across broad plains, like silver threads, lazily unspooled. With no steep valleys to guide them, their courses twist and meander, doubling back upon themselves, splitting and rejoining, forming wetlands and shallow lakes that glimmer in the light of a young sun. There are no roaring waterfalls, no plunging gorges, only the slow patience of water, spreading itself wide, seeping into the stone, carving the gentlest of paths across a pliant land. As you breathe in, imagine those waters gathering. As you breathe out, imagine them spreading across the surface, a mirror to your own steady rhythm. Now, follow those rivers outward. They lead not to dramatic coasts or sheer cliffs, but to seas that are broad and shallow, proto-oceans, not yet deepened by tectonic folds or mountain-borne trenches. Their edges slope gently, so gradual you might not notice where land ends and water begins. The tide rolls softly, gliding over mud flats and sandy shallows. The horizon blurs, as if land and sea are two halves of the same breath. The waves here are calmer too, without mountains to funnel winds into tempests. Instead, the air moves evenly, stroking the surface in long, steady motions. The sound is not a roar, but a hush, like whispers, endless, soft, eternal. If you listen, you can almost hear it now. The hush of seas before cliffs, before crashing surf, before the drama of rocky coasts. The Earth's first lullaby. Now lift your eyes to the sky. Without mountains to break it, the sky feels impossibly vast, unbroken from horizon to horizon. But this is not quite the sky you know. Its colors shift with strange intensity, sometimes thick with haze, sometimes glowing with dust and gases, sometimes painted in hues of deep red, amber, or violet. Clouds form in wide blankets, stretching across the heavens without being torn by ridges or peaks. They move slowly, whole skies drifting together, painting the land below in moving shadows. And when storms come, they do not crash against mountainsides, echoing with thunder. Instead, they spread across the plains, rolling with a deep, slow rhythm, more like the pulse of the planet itself than a sudden outburst. The sky is larger here, heavier, and yet strangely calming. Pause for a moment and notice what is missing. There are no echoes of avalanches, no snow caps gleaming, no sharp lines of ridges against the dusk. The Earth is not yet sculpted into drama. It is broad, low, still waiting. And this waiting carries a certain peace. Flatness does not demand your attention the way peaks do. It invites you to rest, to wander, to notice the quiet details. The slow bend of a river, the ripple of wind through a shallow sea, the way the horizon blends into the sky. This is an Earth that asks for patience. It is not rushing toward grandeur. It is unfolding softly, steadily, like your own breath. Now imagine yourself here, not as you are, but as a quiet witness, hovering gently above the plain. You see rivers gleaming, curling like silver snakes across the land. You see oceans lapping gently at coasts with no cliffs to guard them. You see a sky stretching endlessly, glowing faintly with colors no modern eye has seen. And you feel it, the calm of a young Earth, the peace of horizons unbroken, the patience of a planet waiting for its next chapter. Breathe in and let that peace enter you. Breathe out and let your body sink deeper into rest. Now imagine yourself here, not as you are, but as a quiet witness, hovering gently above the plain. You see rivers gleaming, curling like silver snakes across the land. You see oceans lapping gently at coasts with no cliffs to guard them. You see a sky stretching endlessly, glowing faintly with colors no modern eye has seen. And you feel it, the calm of a young Earth, the peace of horizons unbroken, the patience of a planet waiting for its next chapter. Breathe in and let that peace enter you. Breathe out and let your body sink deeper into rest. But even here, in this flat stillness, change is stirring. Deep beneath the surface, the crust is restless. Plates of stone drift upon molten seas, colliding gently, pulling apart, never quite still. They are not yet bold enough to raise mountains, but they are learning. The first fragments of what we might call continents are beginning to emerge. Not dramatic land masses, but small scattered cradles of granite rising slightly above the seas. These proto-continents are low and soft, like rafts adrift upon a vast ocean. They carry with them the seeds of mountains to come, the possibility of uplift, the memory of stone waiting to be pressed and folded. But for now, they rest low, shadows of future peaks, hints of a drama yet to unfold, and so the Earth holds its breath. Imagine the air itself, thick with carbon dioxide, methane, hydrogen sulfide, a brew that would choke us now, but then was the lifeblood of a planet still finding its balance. Sunlight filters through it slowly, like light through syrup. The glow at dusk lingers longer, soft and hazy. The nights are dark, except for the brilliant glow of a closer moon. It is a world suspended in a kind of waiting. The crust waiting to wrinkle, the seas waiting to deepen, the continents waiting to gather, the atmosphere waiting to clear. And in that waiting lies a profound stillness. As you lie here now listening, you too are resting in stillness. The Earth's story and your story align for a moment. Your breath is like the rivers, meandering slowly. Your body is like the continents, floating gently, unhurried. Your mind is like the sky, wide, open, waiting. In this moment, you are not separate from the Earth. You are part of its memory, and its memory is calm. Soon, in the next chapters, we will watch as the Earth's still crust begins to fold, as plates collide more boldly, as the first proto-mountain ranges rise faintly from the plains. But not yet. For now, we linger here, in this calm before the rise, in this world where horizons are endless, and the land rests low beneath a heavy sky. Stay here a while longer. Let the stillness of this flat earth soothe you. The mountains will come, but tonight they can wait. There is a lesson in this flat, mountainless earth. We are so used to seeing drama in landscapes, the jagged peaks, the crumbling cliffs, the deep-cut valleys. We think of beauty as something that breaks the horizon, something tall, sharp, commanding. But here, in this early earth, there is no height to chase, no ridges to climb, no summits to conquer. Only wide open space, only calm horizons, only the patient unfolding of stone. It reminds us that beauty is not always in the spectacular. Sometimes it is in the simple, the quiet, the unbroken. Sometimes it is in the stillness itself. So let this flat earth remind you that you do not need to strive tonight. You do not need to climb. You do not need to seek out heights. You can simply rest. The earth is resting here too. Yet even in stillness, there is always motion, always possibility. Beneath the shallow seas of this mountainless world, something small is stirring. Tiny forms of life, invisible to the eye, are beginning to make their mark. Simple microbes, fragile and resilient at once, drifting in the currents, clinging to rocks, gathering in mats upon the seafloor. They do not know mountains. They do not need them. For these earliest pioneers, the flatness of Earth is not a limitation. It is a canvas. In warm, mineral-rich shallows, they begin their quiet work, breathing in new ways, experimenting with chemistry, releasing whispers of oxygen, slowly changing the air, slowly writing the first lines of life's long story. They are so small, and yet they will one day shape the atmosphere, carve the seas, and even paint the sky. But here, in this flat world, they drift like dreams across the water. Look upward again, if only in your imagination. In our world, mountains often hold the sky. Clouds gather against them, storms break upon them, snow clings to their high shoulders. But in this world, the sky is unclaimed. No summits reach into its heart. The clouds move freely, unpinned by peaks. Whole blankets of vapor drift across the horizon, sometimes shading the plains, sometimes opening to reveal long stretches of young sunlight. The sky feels endless, eternal, and you, lying here, can feel its weight. Not heavy like a burden, but heavy like a blanket, covering, surrounding, enclosing this young earth in its early breath. It is a sky without drama, but not without wonder. Notice your breath again, slow, gentle. Inhale, the air of a young planet, thick, dense, rich with possibility. Exhale, the calm of horizons unbroken, stretching in every direction. You are breathing with the Earth's earliest rhythms, not the rushing winds of mountain valleys, not the thin air of high places, but the heavy, steady atmosphere of a world before peaks. Your breath is steady like the rivers. Your body is still like the continents. Your mind is wide like the unbroken sky. Here, time feels different. Without mountains, there are no avalanches to mark sudden change, no cliff falls to remind us of erosion, no dramatic rise of peaks to chart. The land shifts slowly, almost imperceptibly. Lava flows spread, then cool. Sediment gathers, then rests. Rivers wander, then change course, but gently, gradually, over vast stretches of time. This is not a world of quick transformation. It is a world of patience. And as you rest here, you too are invited into that patience. Your body can soften. Your thoughts can slow. There is no rush in this mountainless world. Picture yourself walking across this land. The ground is firm but low, stretching on without steep climbs. Each step feels easy, unhurried. In the distance, the horizon stretches smoothly. No ridges to block your way, no valleys to trap your path. The wind brushes your skin evenly, with no cliffs to twist it into gusts. The sound of water is gentle, flowing softly across the plains. And above it all, the moon shines brighter, closer, still finding its place in orbit. Its glow is softer than a street lamp, gentler than firelight, a calm companion to the endless horizon. Everywhere you look, the world is open, wide, waiting. This is not a land of obstacles. It is a land of quiet invitation. Yet deep below, the seeds of mountains are already stirring. The plates of earth are restless. They drift upon molten seas, not yet colliding with force, but slowly learning the rhythm of movement. In time, they will press together, fold, and rise. In time, the first mountain belts will appear, jagged and new. But for now, those peaks are only dreams in the stone. They are possibilities waiting beneath the surface, like thoughts waiting at the edge of sleep. The earth is dreaming of mountains, even if it has not yet raised them. And you too may dream now, your body at rest, your mind drifting, your breath slow and steady. Never forget, you are not just imagining this world, you are part of it. The oxygen you breathe tonight traces back to those first microbes, whispering into the air. The minerals in your body were forged in the crust beneath those flat plains. The salt in your tears once mirrored the seas of that young earth. You carry the memory of this mountainless planet within you. Every breath, every heartbeat, every cell is part of Earth's story. So when you rest tonight, you are not resting apart from the world. You are resting with it. As it once lay calm and flat, waiting for the rise of mountains, you too can rest, patient, unhurried, waiting only for sleep. Now let the horizon fade. Let the plains soften. Let the seas quiet. Let the sky grow dim. There is no need to hold on to the picture. It will hold on to you. You are safe here. You are calm here. You are resting in the memory of a world before mountains. And soon, when the time is right, we will step forward again, toward the stirring of stone, toward the first hints of uplift. But not yet. For now, simply drift. We have wandered across the flat horizons of an early Earth. We have seen its rivers drifting without valleys, its skies stretching unbroken, its seas rising gently onto broad coasts. And now we linger in its stillness a little longer, listening to the quiet heartbeat of a planet before its bones began to shift. If you listen closely, you can almost hear it. Not silence, not emptiness, but the low, steady hum of a world alive in its own way. Magma stirs beneath the crust, flowing, restless. The seas move in rhythm with the moon, their tides pulling softly on the young continents. Winds drift in slow blankets, brushing plains and lakes. It is not loud. It is not sharp. It is the sound of waiting, a waiting that is not anxious but patient. The earth knows its time, and so too you are invited to wait, to let this gentle rhythm soothe you, to rest without reaching, without rushing. Beneath the surface lies stone, but not the thick, confident crust of today. The Earth's skin is thinner here, more fragile, more easily broken by heat from below. Imagine it like a vast sheet, stretched across molten depths. In some places, it buckles. In others, it splits. But for now, it holds. These are the quiet first steps of tectonics, the beginnings of the dance that will one day lift mountains skyward. The plates drift like rafts upon an unseen sea. They slide past each other slowly, almost shyly. They do not yet know the strength of their collisions, but deep within, pressure gathers. And in time, that pressure will find release. For now, the Earth dreams. It dreams of jagged ridges tearing through the sky. It dreams of snowy peaks, of rushing rivers carving valleys, of cliffs that hold back the seas. It dreams of summits so high they will one day touch the cold breath of the upper atmosphere. But these dreams lie dormant, folded deep within the crust. They are seeds, not yet sprouted. The Earth is patient. It will wait millions upon millions of years to raise its mountains. And tonight, you too can rest in that patience. You do not need to climb. You do not need to reach. You can simply dream, as the Earth once did. You are here now in imagination, standing at the edge of this mountainless world. Before you lies an endless horizon. Behind you, seas stretch flat and wide. Above you, the sky glows faintly in colors strange and ancient. You are a witness to a time few can picture, a time when the land lay low, when the continents drifted like quiet rafts, when the first sparks of life whispered in shallow seas. You do not need to do anything here. Simply stand in your mind's eye. Simply breathe. Simply let the story carry you. Stone does not hurry. It shifts in rhythms far slower than heartbeat or breath. It carries memory across billions of years. And here, in this early chapter, stone is resting. It lies flat, unwrinkled, unlifted. It gathers itself for what is to come. There is comfort in that patience. For if even the earth can rest for so long before rising, then you too may rest tonight, without guilt, without urgency, without expectation. You are allowed to be still. You are allowed to wait. You are allowed to breathe softly and let sleep come in its own time. Yet even in stillness, change is always near. The plates drift a little closer. The heat stirs a little stronger. The continents inch toward collisions. The first folds in the crust are faint, barely noticeable, but they are there. Hints of ridges yet to come, shadows of mountains unborn. And as time passes, those hints will grow bolder. Land will rise. Stone will press against stone. And the world will slowly learn the language of peaks, but not tonight. Tonight, we stay here in the calm before. Close your eyes a little deeper. Let your breath slow a little further. Allow yourself to drift with the continents, patient and unhurried. You are not climbing. You are not struggling. You are floating on the wide, flat surface of time, carried softly, steadily, into rest. When next we open our eyes, we will see the stirrings of mountains. We will watch as the earth gathers its strength, folds its crust, and raises its first ridges into the sky. But that is for later. For now, we have only the wide plains, the shallow seas, the endless sky. A world before mountains, resting in its patience.
Before mountains, before valleys, before even seas, the earth was something else entirely. It was not the quiet, green-blue world we know. It was molten, restless, aflame. The earth began in fire. 4.5 billion years ago, dust and rock swirled around the young sun, colliding, fusing, growing. One collision after another built our world grain by grain, stone by stone, planet by planetesimal. Each impact released heat. Each strike added weight. Until, at last, the Earth glowed red with energy, a sphere of molten rock suspended in space. This was not a place to walk. Not a place to breathe. Not a place to rest. It was a furnace. A cauldron. A world in the making. And then, chaos. A body the size of Mars, a wandering planet named Theia, struck Earth with unimaginable force. The surface melted again. The impact tore away fragments of Earth itself, hurling them into orbit. These fragments coalesced, slowly circling, cooling, until they became the Moon. So every moonrise, even tonight, is a memory of that day. A reminder that Earth was forged in collision, in violence, in fire. Yet from that fire, stability slowly began. After the impact, Earth's surface was covered in magma oceans, vast seas of liquid rock, glowing orange-red, shifting constantly. Waves of molten stone rose and fell, sluggish but immense. Volcanoes erupted endlessly, fountains of lava bursting upward, falling back into fiery seas. The air was not air as we know it. It was steam, carbon dioxide, sulfur, methane, thick, choking, heavy. The sky glowed not blue, but red and orange, lit by fire and haze. There was no horizon, only chaos. After the impact, Earth's surface was covered in magma oceans, vast seas of liquid rock, glowing orange-red, shifting constantly. Waves of molten stone rose and fell, sluggish but immense. Volcanoes erupted endlessly, fountains of lava bursting upward, falling back into fiery seas. The air was not air as we know it. It was steam, carbon dioxide, sulfur, methane, thick, choking, heavy. The sky glowed not blue, but red and orange, lit by fire and haze. There was no horizon, only chaos. Close your eyes and imagine standing there, if standing were possible. Beneath your feet, the ground shifts like liquid. Cracks open, glowing with fire. Fountains of lava roar upward. The air is thick, toxic, impossible to breathe. Above, the moon glows larger and nearer than it does now. Still young, still circling, still cooling. You are in the middle of Earth's infancy. It is harsh, but it is alive with becoming. But even in this chaos, change was coming. Slowly, the outer layers of magma began to cool. A crust formed, thin, fragile, often broken by new eruptions, but present. For the first time, there were places where rock held firm. Not oceans of stone, but islands of crust. Not permanence, but pauses. And in these pauses, something remarkable would happen. Think of your own life for a moment. Chaos gives way to stillness. Fire cools into calm. Just as Earth found pauses in its turmoil, you too find moments of rest, even in your busiest days. Breathe with that thought. Inhale, the fire. Exhale, the calm. Inhale, the chaos. Exhale, the pause. The Earth's earliest story is not just one of violence. It is one of balance, always seeking stillness after storm. In the next calm pockets, something unexpected would form. Tiny crystals, barely visible, but enduring beyond imagination. Zircons, timekeepers of the earth. They would survive when everything else melted away. They would hold inside them the memory of water, of crust, of stability. They would whisper of oceans when no oceans should exist. And they would change how we see the early earth forever. So we pause here, at the edge of fire and calm. The earth has been born in collisions. It has burned with magma oceans. It has cooled, just enough, to let crust appear. And soon, in that fragile crust, in those calm pockets, the first zircons will form, tiny, unbreakable witnesses to a world no one thought possible. The fire cooled. The chaos quieted. And in that quiet, the first pockets of stability appeared. At first, Earth's crust was thin, delicate, easily broken. Volcanoes still erupted often, spilling molten rock across its surface. Asteroids still struck, tearing craters and releasing fire once more. But the crust persisted. It cracked, shifted, and reformed. It melted in some places and thickened in others. Yet slowly, it held. For the first time, Earth had skin, a fragile surface separating its molten heart from the vast sky above. Within this crust, small regions grew calmer. Lava cooled into granite-like rocks. Steam condensed, falling as the first rains, only to evaporate again in the heat. It was not yet a planet of oceans and continents, but in scattered pockets, stone and water lingered together, quietly. And in these rare calm places, something extraordinary happened. Tiny crystals began to form. Zircons. Barely the size of grains of sand, they grew inside cooling granite. They were strong, harder than most minerals, resistant to melting, enduring where other rocks crumbled. And within them, they carried memory, oxygen isotopes, traces of water, whispers of a gentler earth. Some zircons we have found today are over 4.3 billion years old. They are the oldest fragments of Earth we know. Older than any mountain. Older than any ocean. Older than any life. Picture one now, resting in the palm of your hand. So small, so ordinary to the eye. And yet inside it is the memory of a world no longer here. A memory of the first crust. A memory of rainfall. A memory of granite cooled in stillness, when most of the planet was fire. It is as if the earth whispered into stone, remember this. Even in chaos, there can be calm. Granite was not like the basalt of volcanoes, dark and fiery. It was lighter, softer in color, slower to form. It signaled something new, continental crust. For the first time, Earth began to build the foundations of continents, not yet vast landmasses, but seeds, kernels of stability. These granite seeds would become the scaffolding upon which future mountains, rivers, and forests would grow. Zircons also carry hints of water. Oxygen isotopes within them suggest that liquid water fell upon the Earth far earlier than once believed. Picture that first rainfall. Steam condensing in a heavy sky, falling as droplets onto hot crust, sizzling as it touched, vanishing in moments back into vapor. But still, it fell. And in falling, it left its mark within zircons, preserved forever. Rain. On a world of fire. Rain. On a world before mountains. Zircons also carry hints of water. Oxygen isotopes within them suggest that liquid water fell upon the Earth far earlier than once believed. Picture that first rainfall. Steam condensing in a heavy sky, falling as droplets onto hot crust, sizzling as it touched, vanishing in moments back into vapor. But still, it fell. And in falling, it left its mark within zircons, preserved forever. Rain. On a world of fire. Rain. On a world before mountains. Close your eyes and imagine standing there. The ground beneath you is warm, cracked, still steaming. The sky above glows orange with haze. And then, softly, a droplet touches your skin. Then another. Then more, until a brief shower falls across the newborn crust. It is not a storm. It is not endless. But it is real. The first rain. The first step toward oceans. The first softening of a fiery world. Billions of years later, geologists would discover these crystals in ancient rocks, in places like the Jack Hills of Western Australia. Lasers and spectrometers would reveal their secrets, the isotopes of oxygen, the ratios of uranium and lead, the traces of early water. These findings stunned science. They told us that Earth was not endlessly hellish in its first 500 million years. That even then, there were calm pockets, rains, perhaps small oceans. The zircons shifted our view of the Hadean. It was not only fire. It was also fragile calm. Breathe with that calm now. Inhale, the fire cooling. Exhale, the crust forming. Inhale, the rain falling. Exhale, the zircon remembering. You are breathing with the Earth's first moments of balance. With the patience of stone. With the memory of rain. But even as zircons formed, the air above remained heavy, toxic, alien. There was no oxygen to breathe. No blue sky to gaze upon. No mountains to catch winds or guide clouds. The atmosphere was dense with carbon dioxide, methane, and sulfur, a thick shroud that filtered sunlight into amber and red. The world was cooling, but the air was still wild. And yet, within that air, within that heaviness, the seeds of future skies were already stirring. So we pause here, among zircons, tiny crystals, timekeepers of a young planet, witnesses to the first crust, the first rains, the first granite, whispers of calm in an age of fire. The Earth was not only molten chaos, it was already learning balance, already making space for water, for sky, for life yet to come. And next, we will look upward, into that early sky, into an atmosphere unlike anything we know, heavy without oxygen, untouched by mountains, strange and ancient. The crust had formed. The zircons had begun to remember. Rain had fallen, briefly, upon a still hot land. But above it all, the sky was something entirely different from the sky you know. The first atmosphere was not gentle. It was thick, choking, and dense with gases. Volcanoes erupted endlessly, filling the air with carbon dioxide, methane, ammonia, sulfur dioxide, and steam. Asteroids striking Earth vaporized rock, adding clouds of dust and gas. There was no oxygen to breathe, no ozone to protect from the sun's rays. The air was hot, pressing downward like a weight. Sunlight filtered through it dimly, tinted red, orange, and brown. The Earth was cooling, but the sky remained heavy. Today, mountains shape winds. They guide clouds upward, wringing rains from them. They create valleys where breezes flow, rain shadows where deserts form, and slopes where storms gather. But in these earliest days, there were no mountains, no ridges to divide winds, no peaks to stir clouds, no valleys to channel rivers of air. The atmosphere spread evenly, like a great unmoving ocean of gas. Winds were broad, slow, undirected. Rain fell without pattern, condensing where it could, evaporating quickly again. It was a world without the drama of weather. The sky was vast, but still unshaped. Imagine looking up in that time. There is no blue. The sun is dim behind thick haze, a swollen red glow. Clouds are not the familiar white of today, but darker, heavy with volcanic steam. Occasionally, lightning cracks, for even in this early air, storms brood within the gases. But there are no peaks to catch that lightning. No ridges for thunder to echo against. The sound travels endlessly, fading into the heavy air. It is a sky both immense and close. both suffocating and vast. Steam filled the air. Earth's surface was hot, but not hot enough to keep water forever vaporized. Clouds gathered, rains fell, seas began to form in shallow depressions. But each asteroid strike or volcanic eruption could boil oceans away again, sending them back into the sky. The water cycled, endlessly, condensing, raining, evaporating, rising. This was the beginning of Earth's hydrological rhythm. Not yet steady, but stirring. And zircons remembered it, holding the isotopic trace of rainfall within their crystalline hearts. Close your eyes and feel it. Heavy air surrounds you, warm and thick. The sun is dim, the sky tinted red. And then, slowly, droplets begin to fall. They are warm at first, almost hot, hissing as they strike the still cooling ground. They soak into cracks in the crust, vanish into steam, then fall again as clouds refill. The first rainfall is not soothing as today's storms. It is heavy, strange, alien. But it is real. And it is enough. This world was unbreathable to us. Without oxygen, life as we know it could not survive. But for the microbes that would one day come, this atmosphere was both a challenge and a resource. Carbon dioxide would feed photosynthesis. Methane would warm the young Earth beneath a faint Sunday. Sulfur compounds would fuel strange metabolisms near volcanic vents. Even in its harshness, the early air was a promise. Breathe gently now, with your own sky above you. Inhale the oxygen-rich air of today. Exhale gratitude for the long story that gave it to you. Billions of years ago, your breath was not possible. Yet Earth was already preparing, already shaping an atmosphere that, one day, would cradle forests, oceans, and you. The air you breathe tonight is ancient. Its story begins here, in this heavy sky. Though mountains did not yet rise to sculpt the atmosphere, the seeds of future skies were already forming. Rain cycles softened the crust. Water pooled, creating reservoirs for chemistry. Volcanoes vented gases, slowly shifting the balance. The sun's faint light filtered through, stirring reactions in air and water alike. This sky was not static. It was changing, slowly, patiently, preparing for oxygen, preparing for clouds shaped by peaks, preparing for the blue world we know. The sky waited for stone. It waited for peaks to lift winds, to sculpt rains, to guide storms. It waited for ranges to carve weather into difference, to create climates, to shelter ecosystems. For now, the sky was heavy and unshaped. But soon, mountains would rise, and the sky would learn to dance. So we pause here, beneath the first atmosphere. It was heavy with gases. It was dim, tinted red. It was unshaped, for mountains had not yet come. Yet even in its alien weight, it carried the seeds of future skies. Rain fell. Clouds formed. Winds stirred. And slowly, patiently, Earth prepared itself for life. Next, we will close this chapter of the early Earth by reflecting on what these beginnings mean. How fire, crust, zircons, and air together shape the fragile possibility of oceans, skies, and life itself. The story of the early Earth is not a simple one. It is fire and stillness. It is chaos and calm. It is destruction and creation. To walk through those first 500 million years is to see the planet learning balance, learning to hold both violence and gentleness at once. The Earth began as molten, restless, aflame. Collisions heated it. Thea's impact remade it. Magma oceans flowed endlessly across its surface. But fire gave way to stone. Crust formed. Thin at first, fragile, always breaking, but it formed. That crust was not permanent, yet it was enough. Enough to give zircons their cradle. Enough to let rain leave its first whispers. Enough to mark the difference between chaos and calm. Most of what happened in the Hadean Eon is lost to us. Rocks melted, reformed, erased themselves. It seemed, for a long time, as if Earth had no memory of its own beginning. But the zircons endured. Tiny, unassuming, stronger than stone around them. They carried in their isotopes the memory of water, of granite, of rain. Without them, we would think the early Earth was only fire. With them, we know there was calm. Even then, there was gentleness. Even then, there was hope. Picture holding one of those zircons now. It glints faintly, no larger than a grain of sand. And yet, inside, it holds a story billions of years older than you. A memory of rain falling on hot stone. A memory of crust cooling after chaos. A memory of Earth's first balance. As you hold it, imagine the weight of time, not heavy, but grounding. The reminder that even in fire, calm can be found. Above this new crust, the atmosphere pressed heavy, thick with carbon dioxide and methane, tinted red and orange, unbreathable. It was not the sky we know, but it was a beginning. Clouds formed, rains fell, waters pooled. The hydrological cycle began its first halting steps. The air was harsh, but it was shaping. The sky was not empty. It was working, slowly, preparing for life. Every droplet, every reaction, every shift was part of the long patience of becoming. Close your eyes now. Feel fire giving way to stone. Feel chaos giving way to calm. Feel heavy skies preparing for blue. Breathe gently. Inhale, the memory of fire. Exhale, the patience of stone. Inhale, the weight of sky. Exhale, the promise of rain. You are resting in the same rhythm that shaped the early Earth. It is humbling to think how fragile it all was. A young planet, barely cooled, easily broken, endlessly struck by asteroids. And yet, through all of it, it persisted. Zircons endured. Crust reformed. Rain fell again and again. Fragile, yes, but resilient. Always beginning again. The Earth was not yet ready for mountains. There were no peaks to guide the winds, no ridges to channel rivers, no valleys to cradle ecosystems. But the foundations were set. The crust thickened. The atmosphere cycled. The zircons remembered. Soon, tectonics would stir. Continents would drift. Mountains would rise. But for now, Earth rested in its infancy, strong enough to endure, fragile enough to change. You, too, are part of this story. The minerals in your body trace back to these first rocks. The water in your veins once fell as rain upon ancient crust. The breath you draw was shaped by skies that began their journey here. You are not separate. You are the continuation of fire, stone, and sky. You are Earth, remembering itself. We have seen a world born in fire. We have seen crust cool, zircons endure, rain fall, skies thicken. We have seen a planet move from chaos to balance, from violence to memory. It was not yet a world of mountains, not yet a world of forests or seas as we know them, but it was becoming. The Earth had found its first rhythm, fire cooling, crust forming, rain falling, sky waiting. And in the next chapter, we will walk upon that young crust. We will see what the world looked like before mountains rose, flat horizons, shallow seas, continents drifting like rafts across a restless ocean. The Earth was preparing. And so are we. As you listen, you are not simply hearing a story. You are traveling. You have walked across plains without valleys. You have stood at the edge of shallow seas. You have wandered across drifting protocontinents. And now you rest, carried by their patience, lulled by their slow motion. You are part of this journey, not as an observer, but as a participant. The elements of this young Earth flow within you. The minerals of its crust make your bones. The The salts of its oceans flavor your blood. The oxygen released by its earliest life fills your lungs even now. You are not apart from this earth. You are of it. Always. Yet even here, in this still world, mountains wait. The continents drift toward one another. Their edges press and fold, though not yet with the strength to lift great ridges. The crust stirs, growing restless, learning the motions that will one day give rise to peaks. Every movement of stone whispers of what is to come. Every drift of granite dreams of summits not yet born. The world is patient. It will wait millions upon millions of years. And so must we. But the promise is there, in every fold, every shift, every drifting raft of land. The mountains are coming. As the earth waits, you too can rest. You do not need to climb tonight. You do not need to reach or strive. You can simply breathe. Inhale, the patience of continents. Exhale, the stillness of flat horizons. Inhale, the calm of shallow seas. Exhale, the waiting of stone. You are resting with the earth. You are drifting with its story. So here we close this chapter, the flat worlds and shallow seas of a mountainless earth. We have walked its horizons. We have listened to its rivers. We have drifted with its continents. We have rested in its patience. And now we look ahead, gently, toward what is to come. For the earth will not stay flat forever. Its plates will collide more boldly. Its crust will wrinkle and fold. And from its stillness will rise the first mountains. But that is for the next part of our journey. For now, let the calm of this flat earth stay with you. Let its patience soothe you. Let its drift carry you into rest. The earth has waited long in its flatness. Its seas spread wide. Its continents drift quietly, like rafts upon a molten tide. And now, slowly, almost imperceptibly, something begins to stir. Beneath the crust lies the mantle, hot, restless, flowing like thick syrup. For billions of years, it has pressed and shifted, pushing the surface gently from below. At first, the continents drifted passively, carried along without direction. But now the mantle's motion begins to find rhythm. Convection currents, vast, slow streams of heat, rise and fall, pulling the crust with them. The plates are no longer drifting aimlessly. They are beginning to move with purpose. This is the awakening of tectonics. As these plates move, they begin to meet. Edges brush against edges, and something new occurs. Instead of sliding past each other without consequence, the plates now press, fold, and resist. Picture two rafts colliding on a lake. They buckle where they touch. They tilt, overlap, shift. So too with the plates of Earth. Where they meet, the crust begins to bend, to wrinkle, to fracture. At first the movements are subtle. The land rises only slightly. But it is the beginning of a new chapter, the chapter of mountains. Breathe with that shift now. Inhale, the mantle rising with heat. Exhale, the crust folding gently above it. Your breath mirrors the rhythm of Earth's awakening. Slow, patient, relentless. You are breathing with the birth of tectonics. Not all collisions are the same. Some plates drift apart, opening gaps where magma wells up, cooling into new crust. Others slide past one another, scraping, fracturing. But where they push directly against each other, the world begins to change most dramatically. The land cannot pass through itself. It must bend, buckle, and rise. These are the restless boundaries, the edges of continents where stillness gives way to uplift. Where one plate presses beneath another, a process called subduction begins. The heavier oceanic crust slides downward, sinking into the mantle. Heat builds. Pressure grows. Magma rises, feeding volcanoes at the surface. But unlike the broad, flat eruptions of the early world, These volcanoes gather into arcs, chains along the edge of continents. They form not just land, but the seeds of ridges. The Earth is learning to recycle itself, swallowing stone below, raising stone above. This process is slow. So slow you would not notice it in a lifetime, or even in 100 lifetimes. Mountains do not rise overnight. They rise at the pace of fingernails, the pace of sleep, the pace of eternity. Hundreds of millions of years pass in the span of their first stirrings. The Earth pushes upward, inch by inch, fold by fold, until low ridges begin to form where once there was only flatness. It is as though the planet itself is stretching after a long rest. Imagine now a horizon that is no longer perfectly flat. In the distance, a line of low ridges breaks the smoothness. Not tall, not jagged, but unmistakable. The first proto-mountains. They are fragile, easily worn by wind and rain. They lack the drama of the Himalayas or the Andes. But they are new, and they are astonishing. For the first time, the Earth is lifting itself toward the sky. Stand here with me in your imagination. You are on the shore of a shallow sea, the horizon wide and familiar. But far away, the land begins to wrinkle. Low ridges roll across the plain, gentle at first, then rising higher with each passing age. You feel the shift beneath your feet, not violent, but steady, patient. The land itself is moving. You are witness to the Earth's awakening. As these ridges rise, they change the sky. Clouds gather differently now, pushed upward by the land. Rain falls in new patterns. Rivers carve slightly deeper courses. The atmosphere responds to the slow shift of stone. It is the beginning of a feedback, land shaping sky, sky shaping land. A dialogue that will grow louder as mountains rise taller. But for now, it is a whisper, a promise of what is to come. Close your eyes and breathe. Inhale, the first stirring of stone. Exhale, the patience of uplift. You are resting in the very moment when Earth begins its transformation, when flat horizons first learn to wrinkle, when the calm of plains begins to fold into the promise of peaks. It is a slow rise, a patient rise, and you are safe within it. So we pause here, at the dawn of mountains. The plates awaken. The mantle stirs. The crust bends, folds, and begins to lift. The first proto-mountains break the horizon, fragile but new. The Earth has learned to rise. And in the next step of our journey, we will see how collisions and subduction shape this rising further, how the Earth's restlessness becomes ridges, arcs, and chains of stone. The Earth has begun to stir. Its plates drift not only as rafts, but as dancers, moving together, pulling apart, circling one another across the molten sea beneath. And now, their steps grow bolder. They collide. They press. They sink. And from these motions, the first mountain belts are born. Imagine two vast slabs of crust drifting across the surface of the planet. For millions of years, they move apart, unhurried. But eventually, their paths converge. At first the meeting is gentle. They touch, shift, scrape past one another. But the Earth's crust is rigid. It does not give easily. Pressure builds. Resistance grows. And then, slowly, inevitably, the land begins to rise. It is not a sudden leap, not a violent burst. It is the slow wrinkling of stone, as if the Earth's skin itself were folding under unseen hands. Feel this in your breath now. Inhale, two plates drifting closer. Exhale, their meeting, their press, their slow lift. Your body rises and falls like the first ridges of stone, born from quiet collisions beneath a wide sky. Not all meetings are equal. Sometimes, one plate is heavier than the other. When a dense, oceanic plate meets a lighter, continental plate, it slides downward, pulled into the mantle's depths. This is subduction, a slow swallowing of stone. As the plate descends, heat and pressure rise. Rock melts. Magma stirs. And at the surface, volcanoes awaken. But unlike the flat, wide volcanoes of earlier Earth, these gather in lines, arcs along the edge of continents. They form not only peaks of fire, but the beginnings of mountain chains. The Earth is recycling itself, and in that cycle, it is building upward. Picture a coastline where this happens. At its edge, the oceanic plate dives beneath the continental crust. Above, volcanoes flare in a row, each one a fiery sentinel. Lava spills, cools, and hardens, layering upon itself. Over millions of years, these arcs grow. Ridges rise. A chain of stone emerges where once the land was flat. It is not yet the grandeur of the Andes or the Rockies, but it is the beginning. The Earth has learned how to build mountains from fire and pressure. Elsewhere, when two continental plates meet, neither is willing to sink. Both are buoyant, light, determined to remain afloat upon the mantle. So they press together, and instead of one sliding beneath, the land folds. Stone bends like cloth, crumpling into ridges. Layers of rock, once flat, tilt upward, stacked and wrinkled, climbing slowly toward the sky. This folding is patient, yet relentless. Each inch of rise may take millions of years. But in time, ranges form, proto-mountain belts, the first outlines of peaks against the horizon. Imagine yourself now standing at the edge of such a collision. Beneath your feet, you feel a slow, steady pressure. The land is not still, it is pushing, folding, rising. Around you, ridges begin to form. They are not yet high, not yet sharp, but they are unmistakable. The horizon, once smooth, now ripples gently, as if the Earth has taken its first breath upward. You watch, and though the movement is too slow for your eyes, you feel it all the same, the patience of uplift, the quiet strength of stone learning to rise. As these ridges appear, the sky begins to change. Clouds gather more often around high places. Rain falls differently, shaping rivers that cut deeper channels. Winds shift, guided by new slopes. The land and the sky are no longer separate. They speak to each other now, each shaping the other in subtle, endless dialogue. It is the beginning of a pattern that will define Earth's history. Mountains lifting the sky carving the mountains. Beneath all this lies fire. Every collision, every subduction zone, every folded ridge is fed by the restless mantle. Heat flows upward, magma rises, volcanoes flare. The mountains are not built only by stone pressing against stone. They are built by the fire below, by the deep memory of Earth's molten youth. The peaks are the surface expression of a planet still burning within. It takes hundreds of millions of years for these processes to build the first true ranges. Imagine a clock so slow that each tick is 1,000 years. Imagine waiting lifetimes for a single hill to rise. Imagine the patience of stone, lifted inch by inch, while oceans shift, climates change, and stars will endlessly overhead. This is the patience of Earth, and in its patience lies strength. So we pause here, at the edge of collisions. The plates awaken. They drift, they meet, they fold, they subduct. The land begins to wrinkle, volcanoes rise in arcs, ridges press against the sky. It is the Earth's first attempt at mountains. Fragile, slow, patient, but undeniable. And in the next part of our journey, we will see these proto-mountain belts more clearly. What they looked like, how they shaped the horizon, and why they carried the promise of everything yet to come. The Earth has begun to rise. Its plates, once drifting gently, now press against one another. The crust folds, the mantle feeds fire, and the horizon changes for the very first time. What was once endless flatness now ripples with ridges. The world has learned to build mountains. Imagine standing on the shore of a shallow sea. For countless ages, the horizon has been smooth, a line unbroken. But now, far in the distance, something new appears, a ripple against the sky. Not tall, not jagged, but they're all the same. A line of hills, low ridges, rising steadily as the plates press. These are the first proto-mountain belts. The earliest outlines of peaks upon a planet that had known only flatness. They may not rival the Himalayas or Andes, but in their time, they were extraordinary, the highest places Earth had ever known. But these mountains were fragile. Their stone was young, their foundations thin. Rain wore them quickly. Winds softened their edges. The seas lapped at their bases, eroding them as they rose. For every inch the earth pushed upward, water and air carved them down. Their lifetimes were short compared to later ranges. Some rose only to be worn away within tens of millions of years, a blink in geological time. They were mountains still learning how to be mountains. Imagine yourself standing near one of these ridges. You climb gently, the slope gradual, the height modest. Yet as you reach the crest, you feel something new. For the first time, you are above the land around you. The horizon stretches further. The air moves differently. Clouds gather near your height. It is a small rise, but it feels immense. The earth is teaching you the meaning of perspective, the gift of standing higher than before. Breathe in that sense of lift. Breathe out the calm of patience. You are with the first mountains. Some proto-mountain belts were volcanic. Along subduction zones, chains of fire erupted, volcano after volcano rising in arcs along the coasts. These mountains were alive, reshaped with every eruption. Lava spilled, cooled, hardened, built new layers. Ash settled across the plains, nourishing soils, altering seas. At night, their peaks glowed red, fountains of fire painting the sky. By day, they steamed and smoked, shaping clouds and storms. They were fragile too, but in their fragility lay power. Power to remake the land, to seed new beginnings, to remind the earth that mountains are not only stone, but fire as well. Elsewhere, where continents pressed directly against each other, the mountains were not fiery but folded. Layers of rock crumpled and tilted, stacked like pages of a book bent too tightly. Valleys formed between ridges, rivers cut through weak points, exposing stone that had lain hidden for ages. These belts were quieter than the volcanoes, but no less profound. They were the earth learning to shape itself with pressure, with patience, with the weight of its own being. As the first mountain belts rose, they began to shape the atmosphere itself. Clouds gathered more often around peaks, pulled upward by their slopes. Rain fell heavier on their sides, feeding rivers that carved valleys. Winds shifted, guided by new ridgelines. The sky, once indifferent to the land, now answered it. The mountains spoke, and the sky replied. It was the beginning of a dialogue that continues to this day, a conversation between stone and air, height and weather, peaks and storms. Close your eyes and place yourself here. The land is no longer perfectly flat. Ahead of you, hills ripple across the distance. Ridges rise, not high, but higher than anything the earth has ever known. Volcanoes glow faintly against the dusk. Rivers cut shallow valleys through folded stone. You walk toward them, and the horizon changes as you do. The world feels larger now, richer, more textured. It is as if the earth has learned a new language, the language of height. And you are here to witness its first words. Remember, this did not happen quickly. Each ridge, each fold, each volcanic cone took millions upon millions of years to form. The earth pushed upward at the pace of fingernails. Wind and rain carved downward just as patiently. For every inch of progress, time stretched long. And yet, across hundreds of millions of years, mountains appeared. The patience of stone is unmatched. And in that patience lies resilience. These first ranges may not have lasted long, but they gave the earth something precious. They taught rivers to carve valleys. They taught clouds to gather and rain to fall with new rhythm. They created new soils, feeding early life. They reshaped coastlines, redirecting seas. Though fragile, though fleeting, they were gifts. They prepared the earth for the greater ranges to come. They are fragile, low, easily worn, yet wondrous. They are fire and fold, pressure and patience. They are the earth's first attempt at height, its first experiment in shaping horizons. And in the next step of our journey, we will reflect on why it took so long, why hundreds of millions of years passed before the earth could raise mountains as we know them, and why patience is written so deeply into the story of stone. The first proto-mountain belts ripple faintly against the horizon. They are fragile, fleeting, yet profound, the earth's first attempt at height. But why did it take so long for mountains to rise? Why did hundreds of millions of years pass before Earth's horizons broke into true peaks? The answer, like the mountains themselves, is slow, patient, and deeply woven into the nature of time. In Earth's earliest days, the crust was thin and delicate. Fresh from its molten youth, it cracked and melted easily. When plates pressed against each other, the stone often sank or broke apart instead of folding high. Volcanoes erupted wide and flat, spilling lava across plains instead of piling into cones. The Earth's skin was too soft, too new, too fragile to hold tall mountains. It took time, hundreds of millions of years, for the crust to thicken, to strengthen, to learn how to lift itself against gravity. Even as the first ridges rose, they were quickly worn away. Rain fell evenly across the land, carving into slopes. Rivers wandered endlessly, carrying sediment back to the seas. Winds smoothed every edge. The atmosphere was heavy, thick, full of gases that accelerated the wearing of stone. For every inch gained in uplift, erosion patiently pulled the land downward. The struggle between rising and wearing away defined the balance of these early ranges. Only when uplift became stronger, steadier, more resilient could true mountains survive. Even as the first ridges rose, they were quickly worn away. Rain fell evenly across the land, carving into slopes. Rivers wandered endlessly, carrying sediment back to the seas. Winds smoothed every edge. The atmosphere was heavy, thick, full of gases that accelerated the wearing of stone. For every inch gained in uplift, erosion patiently pulled the land downward. The struggle between rising and wearing away defined the balance of these early ranges. Only when uplift became stronger, steadier, more resilient could true mountains survive. Plate tectonics itself was in its infancy. The mantle's motions were still settling into rhythm. Collisions happened, but not with the frequency or force of later ages. The continents were smaller, the oceans wider, the drift slower. Without frequent collisions, without strong subduction, mountains had fewer chances to rise. It was as if the dance had only just begun, the partners circling, hesitant, before stepping fully into rhythm. And so, for hundreds of millions of years, Earth practiced. It raised low ridges, then let them erode. It built volcanic arcs, then let them fade. It folded stone gently, then let rivers carve it flat again. Each attempt left traces, memories written in rock. Each cycle taught the planet resilience. Each rise and fall prepared the Earth for greater peaks to come. It was not failure. It was rehearsal. It was practice for the grand ranges of later time. Think of your own life for a moment. How often do we wish for sudden change, for instant height, for mountains to rise quickly in our own story? But the Earth reminds us, becoming takes time. Strength is built slowly. Endurance is earned through patience. The mountains did not appear overnight. They waited. They practiced. They grew resilient over ages beyond imagining. And you, too, can rest in patience. You do not need to rush your own becoming. You are allowed to unfold slowly, like the earth itself. Consider the scale of time we are speaking of. 100 million years. More than 20 times the distance between now and the extinction of the dinosaurs. More than 40 times the span of all recorded human history. And yet, for the Earth, it was a mere chapter. One rehearsal among many. Deep time is vast beyond comprehension. Yet here we are, able to glimpse it through stone, through isotope, through memory written in rock. To sit with deep time is to be humbled. To rest with it is to feel awe. Eventually, the Earth's crust thickened. The plates moved more confidently. Collisions grew bolder. And at last, mountains strong enough to endure began to rise. True ranges, vast belts of stone that could resist erosion long enough to reshape the horizon permanently. But that comes later in our journey. For now, we are still with the Earth in its practice, still in the rehearsal of height. The first proto-mountains may not have lasted, but they were enough to teach the planet how to rise. Your breath is timeless. Your rest is part of deep time. The long delay before true mountains was not wasted. It allowed life to spread across shallow seas. It allowed the continents to drift and grow. It allowed the crust to thicken, the mantle to find rhythm, the earth to prepare for endurance. Waiting is not emptiness. Waiting is preparation. And just as the earth used its waiting to grow stronger, so too can we. Patience is not stillness. Patience is motion in disguise. So we close this chapter, the slow rise of mountains. We have seen tectonics awaken. We have watched plates collide, subduct, and fold. We have glimpsed the first proto-mountain belts, fragile, fleeting, yet profound. And we have understood why it took so long, why hundreds of millions of years passed before true peaks could endure. The earth practiced. The earth prepared. And when the time was right, the earth rose higher. In the next part of our journey, we will walk among the mountains themselves, the first enduring ranges, their power, their influence, and the way they reshaped not just the land, but the sky, the seas, and life itself. But for now, rest here in the patience of stone. Rest in the rehearsal of ridges. Rest in the lesson of deep time. The earth has begun to wrinkle. Mountains are stirring, but they are not yet tall, not yet enduring. For now, the world is still mostly low, a planet of shallow seas, flat horizons, and drifting continents. And within this low, gentle world, life has found its home. Life did not begin on mountain peaks. It did not need altitude or valleys. It began in water, shallow, sunlit, mineral-rich water. Here, in warm seas that lapped gently at flat coasts, microbes found everything they needed. Energy from sunlight, minerals from the crust, space to grow. Imagine bending close to the shore, gazing into a tidal pool. The water looks still, but within it, millions of invisible lives are stirring. These are the first architects of Earth's biosphere, microbes, simple yet astonishing, carrying the spark of all that would follow. Among these microbes were cyanobacteria, organisms able to take sunlight and turn it into energy. They gathered in colonies, spreading across shallow rocks, weaving themselves into mats. Over time, layer by layer, they built stromatolites, stone-like pillars made not by geology, but by biology. Stromatolites rose slowly from the sea floor, each one a living monument to persistence. They were reefs before coral, skyscrapers before cities. Imagine wading through a shallow bay and seeing fields of them, domes and mounds reaching up toward the light, humming with invisible activity. These were the forests of the low world, not tall or leafy, but alive with breath. As they worked, these microbes released oxygen, a gas that, at first, seemed useless, even toxic, in a world dominated by methane and carbon dioxide. But they persisted, drop by drop, bubble by bubble, filling the air with their waste, reshaping the chemistry of the planet. The oxygen you breathe tonight traces its ancestry to them. The rise and fall of your chest is a direct echo of their patient labor in shallow seas. Breathe in now, with gratitude. Exhale, with awe. You are sharing a breath with the oldest workers of Earth. Close your eyes and picture it. A coastline without cliffs. A bay without mountains above it. Only shallow water stretching wide, warm under a younger Sunday. Beneath the surface, mats of microbes spread like carpets. Stromatolites mound upward like low stone hills. The water glows greenish, filled with cells catching sunlight, dividing, growing, persisting. It is not a dramatic scene. No forests, no animals, no towering peaks. But it is alive. Quietly, steadily alive. And in that stillness, there is wonder. These microbes lived slowly. They did not rush. They divided at their own pace, layer by layer, year by year. And yet, their persistence changed the planet. They remind us that even the smallest actions, repeated endlessly, can reshape the world. That patience itself is power. Close your eyes again. Inhale, the persistence of microbes. Exhale, the patience of time. You are breathing with them now, carried on currents of oxygen that began billions of years ago. These microbes lived slowly. They did not rush. They divided at their own pace, layer by layer, year by year. And yet, their persistence changed the planet. They remind us that even the smallest actions, repeated endlessly, can reshape the world. That patience itself is power. Close your eyes again. Inhale, the persistence of microbes. Exhale, the patience of time. You are breathing with them now, carried on currents of oxygen that began billions of years ago. But even as they thrived, this low world was temporary. The seas would not always remain shallow. The air would not always remain heavy. And one day, mountains would rise, bringing with them whole new ecosystems, new challenges, new opportunities for life. But for now, the world belongs to the microbes. It is theirs to shape, theirs to breathe, theirs to fill with quiet persistence. So we pause here, at the edge of a shallow bay. The horizon is flat. The air is thick. The water glows with the work of microbes. They are small, but they are mighty. They are fragile, but they endure. They are invisible, but they are everywhere. And as they breathe, so too do we, connected across deep time, across billions of years, across the low, patient world before mountains. The shallow seas were not the only cradle of life. Beneath the waves, hidden in the darkness of the ocean floor, other worlds were stirring. Worlds of heat, worlds of minerals, worlds of strange beauty. These were the hydrothermal vents, the deep kitchens of life. Imagine the seafloor, flat and quiet at first glance. Then, suddenly, a crack opens. From it, superheated water bursts forth, rich with minerals from the Earth's interior. This is a hydrothermal vent, a place where the deep breath of the planet escapes into the ocean. The water, though scalding, is laden with iron, sulfur, and other elements. Around it, the plane of the seafloor glows faintly, shimmering with life invisible to the naked eye. Where the land is flat and the seas are shallow, here is contrast, a vertical fountain of fire and mineral feeding a whole new world. Close your eyes and descend with me into this darkness. The light of the sun fades. The sea grows colder, heavier, darker. And then, suddenly, a glow. A plume of shimmering water, a tower of minerals rising, a vent exhaling heat into the abyss. It feels alien. And yet, it is home. For here, even without sunlight, life thrives. Around these vents live microbes unlike those in the shallow seas. They do not need the sun. Instead, they feed on chemistry itself. They take in sulfur, iron, hydrogen, turning these raw elements into energy. They are chemists of the deep, weaving life from minerals and heat. And like the stromatolites above, they form mats, colonies, networks, filling the dark with unseen vitality. From them, more complex communities may one day arise, strange ecosystems clinging to fire at the bottom of the sea. Over time, the vents themselves build. Minerals settle around the rising plumes, forming chimneys, spires of stone that grow upward like towers in the dark. These chimneys can stretch meters tall, smoking softly, glowing faintly in the deep sea. They are the mountains of the abyss, tiny compared to later peaks, but monumental in their own realm. Even here, in a world before mountains, the earth is practicing, shaping stone upward, lifting forms into the water, experimenting with height. Now place yourself here, at the foot of one of these chimneys. Around you, the sea is dark, silent, endless. But before you, the vent glows faintly, exhaling warmth, surrounded by shimmering plumes of mineral-rich water. Close your eyes and feel the contrast. Cold sea, hot vent. Darkness, faint glow. Stillness, quiet motion. You are at the heart of life's second cradle, where chemistry itself is breath. Beyond the vents, the seafloor itself carries gifts. Minerals wash across plains, settling in layers, feeding microbial mats. On the surface, shallow seas host stromatolites. Beneath, in the deep, mineral plains host chemotrophs. Together, they create balance, life above shaped by light, life below shaped by fire. The earth is generous, offering two cradles, two kitchens, two ways of living in a low, mountainless world. Like their cousins in the shallow seas, these microbes lived slowly. They did not rush, they did not climb, they did not fill the planet with sudden drama. Instead, they persisted. Layer by layer, cell by cell, they endured in the dark. And in their persistence lay resilience. They remind us that even in the darkest places, life can thrive. That even without light, there is growth. That even in silence, there is song. Breathe with that thought now. Inhale, the warmth of the vent. Exhale, the stillness of the dark sea. Inhale, the patience of microbes. Exhale, the resilience of life. You are here with them, in the deep, listening to the quiet hum of chemistry, the slow weaving of life from fire and mineral. You are not separate. You are part of this persistence. While life thrived in the deep, the surface still waited for its great ranges. The vents built chimneys, fragile towers in the abyss, but true mountains had yet to rise above the seas. The earth was still preparing, still learning, still practicing. And in this pause, life was free to thrive in its own ways. Low, patient, microscopic, unhurried. Mountains would come later. But for now, the low world belonged to the smallest of beings, shaping the air, the water, and the future. So we pause here, in the darkness of the deep. Hydrothermal vents breathe warmth into the sea. Chimneys rise like fragile towers. Microbes weave life from minerals, from fire, from patience. This is life without mountains, without light, without rush. Life born not in drama, but in persistence. And as we rise again toward the surface, we will see why mountains were not yet part of this world, why ecosystems of height did not exist, and how the flatness of the earth shaped the way life lived and endured. The shallow seas glowed with stromatolites. The deep plains breathed with hydrothermal vents. Life had found its footholds, small, persistent, patient. And yet, the world was missing something. There were no forests rising on slopes, no snowfields gleaming on high ridges, no alpine streams cutting down into valleys. Because mountains, and the ecosystems they host, did not yet exist. Imagine lifting your gaze to the horizon. Today, mountains meet the clouds. They catch them, guide them, scatter their rains. But in this early world, the sky is empty of peaks. Clouds drift freely, spread wide across flat horizons. Rain falls evenly, with no slopes to funnel it, no ridges to wring it dry. The weather was broad and gentle, not yet divided into the microclimates that mountains create. There were no rain shadows, no snowy summits, no alpine storms. The sky was whole, unbroken. The earth had not yet learned to carve it. Mountains shape rivers. They give them height, force, direction. Snow melts into streams, streams cut into canyons, valleys deepen. But here, in a world without mountains, rivers wandered lazily. They spread wide instead of plunging deep. They meandered across plains, slow and patient, with no cliffs to fall from, no canyons to carve. The great rushing cascades of later ages did not exist. There were no waterfalls, no gorges, no alpine lakes. Water lived quietly in this flat world, shaping it gently, never dramatically. Think for a moment of what mountains bring today. Alpine meadows filled with wildflowers. Slopes where snow leopards and mountain goats climb. Thin air where eagles soar and glacier creep. None of this existed yet. There were no flowering plants, no animals, no high meadows. Even if they had existed, there were no slopes for them to cling to, no peaks to crown them. The low world belonged to microbes alone. The drama of alpine life was still millions, even billions, of years away. Picture yourself walking across this early earth. Your steps carry you far across plains. You pass wetlands, shallow rivers, pools reflecting the wide sky. You reach the shore, where stromatolites rise quietly in the shallows. And no matter how far you walk, the horizon remains flat. There is no climb, no descent, no sudden wall of stone. It is a gentle, endless journey, a walk across a world still becoming. And in that flatness, there is calm. Why were there no mountains? Because the earth itself was still young. Its crust was thin, still learning to endure. Its plates drifted slowly, still learning to collide with strength. Its ridges rose briefly, only to be worn away. The earth needed time, hundreds of millions of years, before it could raise ecosystems of height, before it could carve valleys, before it could offer new niches for life to explore. Patience was required. And patience is what the earth has always known best. There are no mountains here, but there is still beauty, still wonder, still life. And sometimes, the absence of drama is its own kind of peace. The earth story is full of rhythms, quiet and storm, flatness and height, stillness and upheaval. This was the silence before the climb, the pause before the land learned to rise. In that pause, microbes thrived. In that pause, oxygen gathered. In that pause, the foundation for everything we know was laid. Without this low world, there could be no high world. Without patience, there could be no peaks. We have seen how shallow seas shimmered with microbial mats, stromatolites, and the patient work of cyanobacteria. We have descended to the deep plains, where hydrothermal vents exhaled warmth, building chimneys in the dark and feeding life without sunlight. And we have walked across horizons without mountains, a world where ecosystems of height did not yet exist, where life was small but profound, patient but powerful. The low world was not empty. It was full of persistence, full of quiet beginnings, full of the first breaths of a biosphere that would one day climb into the clouds. But not yet. For now, the earth remained flat. For now, the life it carried was microscopic, invisible, enduring. And in that stillness, the planet prepared itself, for forests, for animals, for peaks, for us. The earth has practiced long in its patience. It has lifted ridges and let them fall. It has folded stone gently, raised volcanoes briefly, and erased them with rain and sea. And now, at last, the Earth succeeds. The first true mountains rise. One of the oldest records we have lies in what is now Greenland, the Ijwa Greenstone Belt. Here, fragments of ancient crust preserve the story of some of the earliest mountain building events. Not tall by today's standards, not dramatic like the Himalayas, but for their time, they were astonishing. Ridges strong enough to endure, folds deep enough to resist erosion, rock layers tilted skyward after billions of years pressed flat. The Ijwa Belt reminds us that even in the planet's youth, the memory of mountains was written into stone. Far away, in what is now South Africa, lies another ancient witness, the Barberton Greenstone Belt. Imagine it as it once was, volcanic arcs colliding, sediments compressed, stone folded upward. For the first time, ridges held their shape. Valleys began to deepen. Peaks lingered against the sky. Even though erosion has worn them low today, in their time, these were mountains, the first to break the Earth's long flatness with enduring height. Close your eyes and picture yourself there. You stand upon a plain, and ahead of you, the horizon ripples with something unfamiliar, a chain of mountains. Not towering giants, but unmistakable peaks. Their slopes catch clouds, their ridges guide rivers, their shadows stretch across the land. For the first time in Earth's story, the horizon is broken. The sky has shape. Breathe in, the lift of peaks. Breathe out, the patience of stone. You are standing at the birth of mountains. What makes these ranges different from the fragile belts that came before? The crust had thickened. The collisions were stronger. The folding was deeper. Instead of brief ridges erased in a geological instant, these mountains endured for tens, even hundreds of millions of years. They stood long enough to change rivers, to guide winds, to shape climates, to carve valleys. They were not only geological features. They were environments, new landscapes where life could adapt, change, and grow. Before, volcanic arcs rose and faded, their cones eroded quickly. Now, entire belts of rock folded together, layers stacked, lifted, tilted skyward. These were not isolated volcanoes, but continuous chains. Ranges stretched across the land, marking where continents had collided, where the Earth's plates had pressed hardest. They were mountains in every sense, and their presence began to transform the planet itself. Before, volcanic arcs rose and faded, their cones eroded quickly. Now, entire belts of rock folded together, layers stacked, lifted, tilted skyward. These were not isolated volcanoes, but continuous chains. Ranges stretched across the land, marking where continents had collided, where the Earth's plates had pressed hardest. They were mountains in every sense, and their presence began to transform the planet itself. Imagine walking into one of these early ranges. The slopes are gentle by modern standards, but steep compared to the flatlands you've known. The ground rises beneath your feet. The air feels different, cooler, clearer. Streams rush downward, cutting paths between ridges. Clouds gather at the peaks, shading the valleys below. You pause, and for the first time, you feel small beneath stone. Not overwhelmed, but humbled. The land itself is lifting, and you are part of its climb. These ranges would not last forever. Erosion would wear them low, rivers would carry their stones to the seas, and time would grind them down. But their impact was already profound. They changed how water moved. They altered how air flowed. They created new niches for life. The Earth had taken its first true step toward the complex landscapes we know today. So we pause here, among the first true ranges. The Ijwa Belt. The Barberton Greenstone Belt. Ancient ridges that stood against erosion long enough to shape the world around them. They were not the highest mountains the Earth would ever see, but they were the first to endure, the first to transform rivers, skies, and ecosystems. And in the next step of our journey, we will see how erosion and water shaped these new heights, how rivers learned to carve deeper, how sediments carried the memory of mountains into the seas, and how the cycle of stone became the cycle of life. The first true mountains stand. Their ridges rise, their shadows stretch, their peaks break the horizon. But mountains are never still. From the moment they are born, they begin to change. They rise, and they wear away. And in that wearing lies the story of rivers, valleys, and sediments. Mountains are sculpted as much by loss as by uplift. Rain falls upon their slopes, carving tiny rivulets that grow into streams. Wind whittles their ridges, softening stone grain by grain. Frost and thaw pry open cracks, breaking boulders into fragments. Erosion is patient, but relentless. Even as tectonic forces push mountains higher, the atmosphere, the weather, and the waters pull them down. The balance of uplift and erosion becomes the heartbeat of a range. And in that heartbeat, landscapes are born. Every grain that breaks free is carried away. Pebbles tumble into rivers. Dust lifts into the air. Sand washes into floodplains. Mountains give themselves to the lowlands. They feed valleys, basins, and coasts with sediment. These sediments are not waste. They are memory. They carry the history of peaks into layers of stone elsewhere. They store fossils, minerals, and the record of climates long gone. Without erosion, there would be no fertile plains, no deltas, no rich soils. Erosion is not destruction. It is renewal. Imagine standing at the side of a young river, rushing from the slope of an ancient range. The water is loud, carrying stones with it, frothing white against boulders. You pick up a rock from the riverbed. It is smooth, worn by countless collisions, shaped by motion. Close your eyes and listen. The sound of water is the sound of mountains wearing down, the sound of peaks giving themselves to valleys. Breathe with that rhythm now. Inhale, the rise of stone. Exhale, the flow of rivers. Before mountains, rivers meandered lazily across plains. They wandered, shallow and broad, with no steep slopes to guide them. Now, with the rise of ranges, rivers gain new force. They plunge downward, carving valleys. They cut into rock, creating canyons. They deepen landscapes, shaping routes for water, life, and sediment. Valleys are the handwriting of rivers. Every curve, every wall, every gorge is a signature of water's persistence. All rivers eventually lead to the sea. The sediments carried from mountain slopes wash into the oceans, settling into layers. Over time, these layers are compressed, becoming new stone. The sea floor is paved with the memory of mountains. Sand becomes sandstone. Mud becomes shale. Pebbles become conglomerates. And when tectonic forces lift these stones again, the cycle continues. Mountains rise, wear away, and rise again. The earth is a circle of stone, endlessly renewing itself. Even your body is part of this cycle. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the salts on your tongue, all were once mountains, worn down, carried by rivers, transformed by seas. You are not separate from the stone. You are the stone, reimagined. The first true mountains remind us that nothing is permanent. They rose, proud and patient. But the rains fell, the winds blew, the rivers carved, and in time, their peaks grew soft, their ridges lowered, their heights faded. This impermanence is not sadness. It is beauty. Because from their loss came valleys, plains, soils, oceans. From their erosion came life itself. The mountains gave themselves away, and in doing so, they enriched the world. As these processes continued, something new emerged. With rivers came fertile valleys. With sediments came layered coastlines. With erosion came new niches for life. The biosphere shifted, slowly, subtly, learning to live with mountains, with rivers, with soils. A new dialogue between geology and biology had begun. So we pause here, at the side of an ancient river. Behind us, the mountains rise, patient and enduring. Before us, the river flows, carrying their gift to the sea. Mountains rise. Mountains fall. But in their falling, they give life. And in the next step of our journey, we will see how this gift reshaped the biosphere. How the presence of mountains changed the air, the water, the climate, and the possibilities for life itself. The mountains rose. The rivers calved. The sediments settled. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the biosphere, life itself, began to change. For the first time, Earth carried ranges tall enough to alter the air, the water, and the habitats of its living world. Mountains touch the sky, and in doing so, they shape it. When air is pushed upward over slopes, it cools. Clouds gather, rains fall. The first ranges began to create regional climates, pockets of wetter valleys and drier plains. Life, which had known only broad, uniform seas and skies, now encountered variety. Some places grew wetter, others drier. Some cooled, others warmed. The biosphere thrives on difference. And mountains created that difference. Rivers born from mountains carried more than sediment. They carried nutrients. They carved floodplains rich with minerals, fertile ground for microbial mats to spread, for early ecosystems to thrive. Where once life drifted evenly across shallow seas, now it followed rivers, gathering where nutrients pooled. The mountains gave rivers purpose, and rivers gave life direction. As mountains eroded, their sediments transformed coastlines. Deltas formed, rich with minerals. Layers of mud and sand created new surfaces for microbes to cling to, new environments to colonize. Life no longer lived only in open seas or hydrothermal vents. It had new footholds in deltas, estuaries, and the fertile margins where rivers met oceans. The biosphere expanded its map. Imagine standing in such a place. Behind you, a low but enduring range catches clouds. Rain falls, rivers rush downward. Before you, a broad delta fans out into the sea, shimmering with life. Mats of microbes spread across the wet ground. Tiny organisms thrive in tidal pools, fed by fresh minerals. You breathe in, and the air feels different here. Cooler, fresher, touched by the sky shaped by mountains. You are standing in a new kind of world. Not flat, not uniform, but varied. Alive with contrast. As stromatolites in shallow seas continue to release oxygen, the presence of mountains altered how that oxygen spread. Rivers carried nutrients that fueled microbial growth, boosting oxygen production. Winds redirected by slopes mixed the atmosphere more deeply. Step by step, the biosphere grew more complex, oxygen more abundant. The breath you take now was shaped, in part, by mountains, even the earliest, even the smallest, even those long eroded to dust. Though complex plants and animals would not appear for billions of years, the groundwork was being laid. Mountains created variation in climate, in water flow, in soil chemistry. And variation is opportunity. Each niche, each difference, each pocket of change created a chance for life to experiment. The mountains became laboratories, offering conditions that tested resilience, patience, and adaptability. The story of life's complexity owes much to the rise of ranges. Breathe with that shift now. Inhale, the rain falling on slopes. Exhale, the rivers carrying nutrients. Inhale, the deltas rich with life. Exhale, the atmosphere filled with oxygen. You are breathing with the mountains, with their rivers, with their sediments, with their gift of difference. You are not apart from this biosphere. You are within it. Always. It is humbling to think that mountains, so mighty in appearance, are also fragile, rising and falling in cycles, eroding even as they climb. And it is humbling to see that microbes, so small as to be invisible, reshape the air we breathe and the seas we know. The great and the small, the The high and the low, the stone and the cell, all work together in this story. The mountains gave life variety. Life gave the mountains breath. Together, they built the world we walk upon. We have seen ranges like the Ishwa and Barberton belts, early peaks breaking the horizon. We have watched erosion and rivers carry their gift to the seas. We have seen how the biosphere shifted, how life itself was changed by the presence of height, by rivers, by sediments, by the difference mountains create. They were not the tallest ranges Earth would ever know, but they were the first to endure, the first to teach the world what mountains mean. And in the next chapter of our journey, we will explore what followed, how ranges grew higher, how climates shifted further, and how life continued its patient dance with stone. The first true mountains are long gone. The Ishwa Belt, the Barberton Ranges, the ancient greenstone ridges, all worn low, eroded to whispers of their former selves. But their memory is not lost. It lives on in the mountains we see today. The Himalayas, the Andes, the Alps, the Rockies. Every peak we look upon is a continuation of that ancient story. The slow rise of stone, the patient carving of rivers, the endless dialogue between uplift and erosion. Look to the Himalayas, the tallest mountains on Earth today. They are the result of two continents colliding, India pressing into Asia, stone crumpling, folding, thrusting skyward. This is mountain building in its prime, the same process that shaped the first ranges, but now on a grander scale. When you see Everest, towering into the sky, remember the Ishwa Belt, humble, low, but born of the same forces. The Himalayas are the echo of Earth's first attempts, refined by billions of years of patience. The Andes stretch along the western edge of South America, born from subduction, an oceanic plate sliding beneath a continent. Here volcanoes and ridges rise in arcs, fire feeding stone, slopes feeding rivers. It is the same pattern Earth first discovered billions of years ago, when volcanic arcs formed along ancient coasts. The Andes remind us, the fire beneath never rests. The same breath that built proto-mountain arcs still moves today, lifting ranges higher, shaping climates, creating habitats for life. The Alps, young and jagged, were born of collision in more recent geological time. Their sharp ridges are reminders of mountains still fresh, still rising. The Rockies, older, show both uplift and erosion. Some ridges remain sharp, while others have softened, their peaks rounded, their valleys broadened. They remind us of impermanence, of mountains that rise, weather, and rise again. Together, these ranges show us every stage of the cycle. Youth in jagged peaks, maturity in broad valleys, age in worn ridges. The cycle continues, as it always has. Close your eyes now and imagine a horizon you know. Perhaps the snowy summits of the Himalayas. Perhaps the green slopes of the Appalachians. Perhaps the quiet ridges near where you live. Each one carries within it the same story as the ancient ranges, the patient work of plates colliding, of stone rising, of rivers carving. The mountains of today are not separate from the mountains of yesterday. They are the same story, written again. When we look at mountains, we are looking at time made visible. A glacier-carved valley is a memory of ice. A folded ridge is a memory of collision. A volcanic cone is a memory of fire. Each mountain is a library of deep time, its layers recording the patience of Earth. The Himalayas remember India's drift across oceans. The Andes remember the swallowing of plates beneath the sea. The Appalachians remember a time when North America collided with Africa, long before the Atlantic opened. Every peak is a remembrance. Every ridge is a page. Every valley is a sentence written by water and stone. Breathe with that memory. Inhale, the weight of stone. Exhale, the patience of erosion. Inhale, the rise of peaks. Exhale, the memory of their fall. You are breathing with mountains, both ancient and present. You are breathing with time itself. And yet, no mountain is permanent. All peaks fall, all ridges soften, all valleys deepen. But even in their wearing away, mountains prepare for renewal. The first true ranges were worn low, but their sediments built the foundation for new peaks. The same is true today. The Himalayas will one day be worn down. The Andes will soften. Their stones will be carried to seas, pressed into new layers, and lifted once more. The cycle is endless. The earth remembers. So we pause here, among today's mountains, seeing in them the reflection of ancient ranges. The Himalayas, the Andes, the Alps, the Rockies, they are echoes of the Ishwar and Barberton belts, the same story retold. Every mountain is part of a cycle. Every peak is a reflection of deep time. And in the next step of our journey, we will rest with that cycle itself, the endless rise and fall of ranges, the memory carried in stone, the truth that impermanence is not loss but renewal. Mountains rise. Mountains fall. This is the rhythm of the earth, slow, patient, ceaseless. Every peak we see today is not permanent but momentary, a chapter in a cycle billions of years in the making. Deep within the earth, the mantle moves. Its currents push plates together, fold crust into ridges, lift valleys into summits. This is uplift, the quiet force that gives mountains their height, the invisible hand that presses stone upward into the sky. Uplift is steady, but not swift. A mountain may rise only a few millimeters in a year. Yet across millions of years, continents collide, oceans close, and ridges stretch toward the heavens. It is persistence, not haste, that builds peaks. But even as they rise, mountains begin to fall. Rain beats against their slopes. Rivers carve into their flanks. Winds scrape across ridgelines. Glacier grind valleys deeper. This is erosion, the quiet sculptor of landscapes. Without erosion, mountains would rise endlessly. But erosion shapes them, carves them into beauty, and carries their fragments to the seas. Together, uplift and erosion are not enemies. They are partners, balancing one another. One builds, one reshapes. Together, they create the landscapes we know. Every mountain carries memory. Look closely at its rocks, and you can read its story. Folded layers whisper of collisions long past. Pebbles in sandstone tell of rivers that once rushed across slopes. Glacial grooves mark the passage of ice. Fossils embedded in cliffs recall seas that lapped where summits now stand. Stone is a library, and mountains are its shelves. Every ridge, every valley, every layer is a page in Earth's deep history. The Appalachians, now worn low, were once Himalaya high when Africa collided with North America. The Himalayas, sharp and rising today, will one day be worn to gentle hills. The Andes will soften, their peaks carried grain by grain into the Pacific. This is the fate of every mountain. To rise, to fall, to rise again in another form, another place, another time. Imagine yourself walking among old mountains. Their peaks are no longer sharp. Their slopes roll gently. Rivers wander broadly through valleys. You pick up a stone from the ground. It is smooth, worn, but within it lies memory. Its minerals were forged in fire, lifted by uplift, shaped by erosion, carried by water. You hold in your hand the entire cycle of a mountain. And in holding it, you hold time itself. The cycle of mountains is not quick. It takes hundreds of millions of years for peaks to rise, erode, and return again. But in this slowness lies resilience. Nothing is lost. Every grain of sand that washes into the sea becomes part of new stone. Every worn peak becomes the foundation for another mountain. The earth wastes nothing. It remembers everything. Think of your own life for a moment. We too rise, fall, and rise again in new forms, in memory, in stories, in those we touch. Our changes may seem sudden compared to mountains, but they follow the same truth. Nothing is lost, only transformed. The mountains remind us to trust the cycle, to know that even in falling, there is becoming. So we pause here, with the rhythm of mountains. Uplift and erosion. Rising and falling. Persistence and patience. Every range is a memory, every valley a page, every stone a whisper of deep time. And in the next step of our journey, we turn to ourselves, to humanity's relationship with mountains. How we have revered them, climbed them, carved them, and listened to their lessons across ages. The mountains are not only stone. For us, they have always been more. They are symbols. They are teachers. They are mirrors of our own longing for height, for perspective, for the stillness of something greater than ourselves. From the first true ranges of deep time to the peaks we walk among today, mountains have been companions to our species, shaping our weather, our stories, our spirits. Every culture has seen mountains as sacred. For the Greeks, Olympus was the home of the gods. For the Hindus, the Himalayas cradle the dwelling of Shiva. For the Japanese, Mount Fuji is a symbol of purity, a place of pilgrimage. For the Andean peoples, mountains are apis, living spirits, protectors of the valleys. To stand before a peak is to feel its presence, not only physical but spiritual. Mountains lift our eyes upward. They remind us of scale, of mystery, of humility. Even in their silence, they speak. Beyond myth, mountains have shaped how we live. They provide rivers that nourish valleys. They give minerals that fuel our tools. They protect regions, forming barriers and borders. They shape weather, guiding rains, cooling plains, carving the patterns of agriculture. Our cities, our fields, our histories are written in the shadow of mountains. We may think of them as distant, lofty, apart. But in truth, mountains are woven into every breath we take, every harvest we gather, every story we tell. Imagine yourself now walking among mountains you know. Perhaps the snowy ridges of the Alps. Perhaps the ancient softness of the Appalachians. Perhaps a single hill near your home. You feel the air grow cooler as you climb. You hear the rush of streams tumbling down slopes. You see the clouds caught upon peaks, drifting slowly across valleys. Pause, and let the mountain hold you. You are not conquering it. You are not apart from it. You are resting within its patience. In our age, many climb mountains. Everest, Kilimanjaro, Denali. Often, it is spoken of as conquest, a human standing upon a summit, victorious. But mountains remind us, we do not conquer them. We visit them. Briefly. The wind and snow, the stone and sky, endure long after we descend. A summit is not a trophy. It is a conversation. A reminder of perspective. A lesson in humility. Every climb ends the same way, with a return to the valleys below. And in that descent, we learn that mountains are not to be possessed, but to be honored. More than anything, mountains teach us about time. They rise slowly, reminding us of patience. They erode gently, reminding us of impermanence. They give sediments to the seas, reminding us that nothing is lost, only transformed. Their silence is not emptiness. It is wisdom. When we look to mountains, we see both our smallness and our belonging. We see that we are brief, but not meaningless. We see that change is constant, but not without purpose. You are not apart from this. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the salt in your tears, all were once stone, weathered, carried, transformed. You are the mountain, remembering itself. We mine mountains, carve tunnels through them, build roads across their passes. We dam their rivers, quarry their stone, harness their wind. Yet we also paint them, write poetry about them, climb them with reverence, stand before them in awe. Our relationship with mountains is both use and wonder, both taking and listening. And perhaps now, in this age, we are asked to lean more toward listening, to remember that mountains do not need us, but we need them. For water, for air, for beauty, for meaning. We have seen today's mountains as mirrors of the first ranges. We have rested in the cycles of uplift and erosion, the memory carried in stone. We have remembered humanity's bond with mountains, as myth, as teacher, as source of awe. Mountains rise. Mountains fall. We walk among them, brief but present, learning their lessons, carrying their memory. And in the next chapter, we will follow their legacy further, into weather, into climate, into the breath of the planet itself, shaped by peaks against the sky. The story of mountains, and of Earth, has carried us far. From flat horizons to the first ridges. From shallow seas to true ranges. From stone rising to stone wearing away. We have walked across plains, descended into oceans, climbed among ridges, and rested in the patience of deep time. Now, here at the end of our journey, we turn gently inward. Not to learn more, but to rest. Not to seek answers, but to feel belonging. Every part of the planet holds memory. The oceans remember the rains. The stones remember the fire. The mountains remember their rise and fall. And you, too, are part of that memory. The minerals in your bones are recycled from ancient peaks. The oxygen you breathe was born of microbes in shallow seas. The warmth you carry is the heat of the sun, the same star that touched stromatolites billions of years ago. You are not outside the story. You are the story. Close your eyes now. Let your body sink into stillness. Feel the weight of the bed beneath you, as steady and grounding as stone. Breathe slowly. Inhale, the patience of earth. Exhale, the calm of belonging. The earth holds you. You belong here. Mountains rise and fall. Rivers carve and carry. Oceans swell and rest. The earth breathes in rhythms, gentle and sure. And so do you. Your breath rises and falls. Your heart beats steady. Your body shifts between waking and rest. You are not separate from these cycles. You are their reflection. You are their continuation. The patience of the planet is within you. Imagine yourself lying not just in this room, but upon the earth itself. Beneath you, the crust stretches vast and ancient. Beneath that, the mantle turns slowly, endlessly. Beneath that, the core spins, magnetic, glowing. Above you, the sky stretches wide. Clouds drift, stars shimmer, winds move quietly. You are cradled between earth and sky. You are held by the same forces that shape mountains and seas. You are safe in their rhythm. You are part of their patience. The mountains remind us, nothing needs to be rushed. Even the tallest peaks rose one grain of stone at a time. Even the deepest valleys were carved by countless drops of rain. You do not need to climb quickly. You do not need to prove or to hurry. You are already enough. Like the earth, you are allowed to rest. You are allowed to take time. You are allowed to simply be. Breathe with me again, softer now. Inhale, the patience of peaks. Exhale, the surrender of valleys. Inhale, the calm of rivers. Exhale, the stillness of plains. Each breath carries you deeper into rest. Each breath reminds you, you belong. So we pause here, in reflection. The story of mountains has been vast, but it is also simple. Stone rises, stone falls, stone remembers. And so do we. The earth holds you, always. In its patience, in its cycles, in its memory. And now, as your eyes grow heavy, we will drift further, from reflection into guided rest, from thought into quiet, from listening into sleep. You have walked with the earth through its long story. Now, it is time to let the story walk with you into rest. Let the images linger softly, not as lessons, but as dreams. Not as history, but as comfort. Imagine yourself lying at the foot of a mountain. It is not cold, nor harsh. It is gentle, its slopes softened with time, its ridges rounded. You feel the steady ground beneath you, ancient, patient, reassuring. The mountain holds you the way the earth always has. Close your eyes. Rest in its stillness. Let its weight become your own calm. Now, hear the sound of a river. It flows from the slopes above, winding gently, never rushed. The water is cool, clear, carrying with it the memory of peaks, the minerals of stone, the patience of rain. Listen as it moves over rocks, a quiet lullaby of motion. Each drop is timeless. Each ripple is a reminder that life flows, always forward, always returning. Breathe with the river. Inhale the freshness of its waters. Exhale the calm of its current. Above, the sky stretches wide. Clouds drift slowly, weightless. Stars shimmer faintly, distant but steady. There is no rush in the sky. Its patience is eternal, its calm unbroken. Feel the cool air touch your skin, gentle as a whisper. You are safe beneath this sky. You are always beneath it, always held by its expanse. Mountain beneath, river beside, sky above. You are in balance. You are surrounded. You are complete. Every breath you take is shared with the earth, with its winds, its waters, its stones. You are not apart. You are of it. Feel yourself drifting now, as rivers drift to seas, as clouds drift across skies, as peaks drift slowly into valleys. There is no urgency here, only the slow, steady rhythm of the planet. Let go of today. Let go of tomorrow. You are not required to hold them now. The earth holds them for you, as it has held every age, every rise, every fall. Your breath is slower, your body heavier, your thoughts quieter. Like sediments settling at the bottom of a river, let your worries sink, layer by layer. They do not vanish. They rest. And so do you. Close your eyes more deeply now. Rest in the patience of stone. Rest in the calm of water. Rest in the vastness of sky. Imagine clouds lowering softly over the mountain, wrapping its slopes in mist. Imagine the river slowing, its ripples smoothing into stillness. Imagine the stars brightening above, guiding you into dream. The mountain sleeps. The river sleeps. The sky sleeps. And you, too, are carried into that sleep. So we pause here, deeper than before. You are not climbing anymore. You are not walking. You are resting. The mountain holds you. The river soothes you. The sky shelters you. And with every breath, you sink more fully into belonging, into stillness, into sleep. The story of Earth has carried us far tonight. From the fire of its birth, to oceans without shores, to plains without mountains. From the first true ranges rising, to rivers carving, to life finding footholds. From myths of peaks to the mountains of today. And now, the story carries you not into the future, but into rest. You are not apart from this earth. You are of it. The stone in your bones is the memory of mountains. The oxygen in your lungs is the gift of ancient microbes. The water in your blood is older than rivers, older than seas. The earth holds you because you are earth. Every cell, every breath, every heartbeat, they belong here, as much as mountains and rivers and skies. You are safe. You are home. Close your eyes more deeply now. Let the weight of your body sink. You do not need to hold yourself. The earth holds you. Your thoughts can drift. Your breath can slow. There is nothing to do, nothing to solve, nothing to carry. Like mountains wearing down, like rivers flowing to seas, let yourself soften. Let yourself flow. Let yourself rest. Picture yourself lying in a valley, cradled between soft slopes. Above you, stars shimmer. Beside you, a river hums quietly. Beneath you, the earth is steady, ancient, kind. Clouds drift slowly across the sky, their shapes changing as they move. A breeze carries the scent of stone, the memory of rain. You are surrounded, sheltered, held. Sleep comes not as a demand, but as an invitation. The earth is inviting you to rest with it, to drift with it, to dream with it. Remember the cycle. Mountains rise, mountains fall. Rivers carve, oceans gather, life endures. There is no final loss, only change. No sudden end, only continuation. Your rest tonight is part of that cycle too. Like valleys after storms, like seas after waves, your body restores itself in stillness. Rest is not weakness. It is part of the rhythm. It is the balance that allows rising again. Breathe one last time with me, softly. Inhale, patience. Exhale, release. Inhale, belonging. Exhale, peace. Your body is heavy. Your thoughts are light. Your breath is calm. You are ready to drift. If the earth could speak, perhaps it would whisper this: you belong. You are not outside of me. You are my memory, my breath, my dream. Rest now, as I rest. Breathe now, as I breathe. Sleep now, as the mountains sleep, as the rivers sleep, as the sky sleeps. And so, we end our journey here, not with urgency, but with quiet. Not with answers, but with calm. Not with height, but with belonging. Because the story of Earth isn't over. It's just getting started. Until then, sleep well. Stay curious. And remember, you're not just on Earth. You are of it. Good night, from Infinite Earth Stories.